Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. Okay, we've got one addition to the agenda. Teacher hire. We'd like to put that in right after Stephanie's rollovers. Yeah, other than that, we have a motion to approve the agenda with that one addition. Second. Any further questions? Okay. All those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, say aye.
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 Abstained. Okay. And under public comment, before we get into that, I'll just remind everybody, both behind me on the screen and in front of me, that this is the only time that you will have to speak publicly in this meeting. After this closes, this board will not recognize you. So is there any public comment?
Welcome.
Okay. Comment is closed. Under consent agenda items, the September 8th board meeting, personnel committee meeting on September 9th and 16th. Move all those at once, if so. Motion approved. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, I was in favor of approving these meeting minutes. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Okay. Stephanie.
I have reviewed the board orders that are listed on the back of the minutes. Everything looked in order, and I would like to have a motion to approve these board orders.
So moved. Second. Any questions? You seeing that? All those in favor of approving the board orders, say aye. School board.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Okay. Sure.
I wanted to just go back for 30 seconds to public comment. I think that not all of our community members understand that public comment is not a back and forth conversation. And so we just wanted it for the minutes tonight to make sure that people understand that they're welcome to speak, but it is not practice to engage in conversation. And if there is something that comes up that warrants more time, it could be agended for another meeting.
You have a new hire in Waterville, future?
I'd like to make a recommendation that we hire Alexandra Gordon as a .2 art teacher for Waterville Elementary School at a column B, step 4, annual salary amount of $10,961.
We have a motion before we start any questions?
Second.
Any questions? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approving our new teacher in Waterville, say aye.
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 Who's that from? Is it background? Okay. All abstained? Legislative update.
All right, so I'm going to go through at a very high level what's been going on with the different task forces that are all wrapped around Act 73. So I pulled together some notes, leveraging some email and some links that the VSBA had provided to me. That's what you saw Kat forward on yesterday. So if you haven't had a chance to go through that, there's a lot of useful and interesting reading there. It's going to take a little bit of time because there's a lot going on, but I'll cover kind of the high points right now. Starting with the Vermont Districting Task Force. We've had several meetings now, the last of which was on Friday. It was October 10th. And they have 3 upcoming public hearings on October 16th, 22nd, and the 28th. Unfortunately, none of those are very close proximity to us. I think the closest is probably at LNMUUSD High School later this month. Those are generally in the evenings. And then there are 3 remaining scheduled task force meetings, October 22nd, November 10th, and November 20th. Those all leading up to the date of December 1st when they're supposed to issue their initial maps. So right now the task force has considered 4 maps, and in doing so, they asked themselves the following 4 questions. What potential does this map have to make things better? What key questions or assumptions would need to be explored? What trade-offs or tensions might this map surface, and how might we navigate them? And should we move forward with this map? My screen goes dark. So the 4 maps that were being considered are a regional BOCES map. And just so you know, when you hear BOCES, that's Boards of Cooperative Education Services. There's also a CTE map centered around our Centers for Technology centers in those regions. Regional Comprehensive High Schools map, which I have not seen yet. I've only seen it referred to in somebody who attended the meeting, and I don't think last Friday's meeting minutes have been published yet. It's not when I checked earlier today, so I guess more of that in a future meeting. And then lastly was a county map, one that aligns with the counties. And essentially the task force has decided to continue work on 3 of those. 1, the BOCES map, the CTE map, and the Regional Comprehensive High Schools map. So the county map is currently off the table. As you recall, the task force has to come up with at least 3 proposed maps. So the CTE map, as it's currently proposed, again, this is very fluid, right? Nothing's set in stone yet. It centers around our tech centers, our CTE centers. And right now, that would put us with our neighbors to the south, overall south, as well as Orleans Southwest, right? So our neighbors to the east, OSSU, which would include like Wolcott and Hardwick and those towns. It's about 6,900 students, if I'm not mistaken. You can go on the website of the task force and play around with their mapping tools and see, what geographies they're considering for that. So one other thing that the task force has come up with is they've designed a template that they're going to run through, basically use an evaluation of all of these maps. So it's a 12-page template. I think that was linked in the message that went out to all of you. I'm not going to go into a lot of details on the BOCES. Sorry.
So generally, they each have pros and cons. The comprehensive regional high schools would entail probably massive construction through the state to build facilities that it could absorb. So I think there's a huge upfront cost there. The CTE maps, there would be 14 districts. We have 14 CTEs. The BOCES map is interesting. It doesn't care whether you are an SU or an SD. There's local preservation of voice. And it is the one study that has some research attached to it that suggests there are savings and that there are students, especially in the realm of students who need additional supports. There is not just the cost savings, as I said, but that more resources are available for those students because they're being served at scale. So no bias there.
I agree that the BOCES one is very interesting. I think there's been actually a fair amount of data that is published in some of the materials that the committee looked at. including a comparison of our state to other rural states. And, you know, they highlighted that these other rural states, they all use BOCES and they're able to provide education at a lower cost than here in Vermont. So that one's very interesting. One thing to highlight on the BOCES map, it's actually going to be two parts, right? So it's looking at the regional BOCES, like centered around those shared services. But then there's a phase 2 that would look at opportunities for intentional mergers that are strategic. And I'll quote here, in line with evidence-based criteria, local input, and availability of construction aid. So they want to go through a very thoughtful, rigorous process that would entail more than just probably going through the available time in the next few meetings and producing that sometimes. Let's see. The voting board working group, so that's another group that's been established by the legislature. They had their first meeting on October 1st. I don't have much to report there yet. It was largely organizational in nature, and the next meeting is scheduled for November 5th. So the next thing I'll cover is, so we've talked a lot in the past about the Commission on the Future of Public Education. That body, some people have resigned, there are new people on that body. It's completely refocused its scope. And so there are essentially that body under Act 73 is supposed to make recommendations for two areas. One, what belongs under local versus state control. Two, the roles of school boards and voters. Three, how communities have a voice in school closures. And four, how to monitor Act 73's implementation transparently. So I know the VSBA actually has a representative on the commission. I know we've passed along a lot of ideas around particularly what would happen in the event of a school closure, or what should be the practice. And so I'll highlight some of the things that have been talked about, or some of the initial recommendations from the Commission on the Future of Public Education. Again, their report is scheduled to come out by December 1st. So a lot of this is happening in parallel, all at the same time, in advance of the next legislative session. So some of the things that I'll highlight as part of the school closure process, the recommendations are that we would begin closure discussions at least 18 months in advance. We'd hold multiple public meetings, including one in the affected town. Community input votes would be conducted. So it wouldn't just be, a vote of the district, but we'd actually have an informative vote that could let school boards know, how the townspeople feel about the local school being closed, the practice. And then there would be a comprehensive public analysis of impacts, educational, economic, transportation, and community in considering school closures, which I think is really important. So I guess in summary, I view a lot of the recommendations from the commission to be pretty thoughtful. And I'm encouraged. I hope that the legislators take those to heart as they consider, how to actually implement Act 73. I think some additional concerns that the commission's highlight is that the proposed 4,000 to 8,000 student district size is not practical for rural Vermont. And that they would recommend voluntary regional collaboration instead of forced consolidation. So, that's sums up my motion.
And we have a newsletter going out tomorrow with the dates and times of the 5 public comment areas. There are Oxbow, Townsend, Rutland, Chipman, and another one. And there are virtual opportunities to participate, and that's what people might have to do. I don't anticipate that they will be scheduling more meetings because of the timeline. I also want to just be mindful of the fact that if December 1st comes and goes and there isn't anything that is decided upon, it pushes the whole timeline out. Just FYI.
Yeah, no, that was a really comprehensive summary. Bart, I'll just add that the Alliance, of course, has been extremely active in all these meetings, and but one of the things that they're really emphasizing for its members to do is public comments and how important that is, and how it is really helping shape the conversation, influence the conversation. So last week they put out a call to action to really have the public chime in on all the things that are important to us as school board members and districts and unions. They just this morning said there'll probably be another call to action coming up. So when that comes out, I'll be sure to make sure that everyone gets that information. But just, yeah, just really pushing for public comment. So that's the only thing I'll add. And I think, Kat, you went to a superintendent's.
I did.
I don't know if you wanted to say.
Well, it was not a give and take. It was going around the room to say, the virtual room to say, what are you doing? What is your board thinking of?
Okay.
And what I did contribute is that the board passed a resolution as part of public comments, and that was the end of it. And it was very much mixed SUSD, not any conversation really about how this is going to benefit kids. A lot of conversation about taxes.
I think we kind of wrap on that. I'm just gonna say, I think we've pretty much done that. Data.
Data update?
Yep.
Okay. Here we're going to look at a bit of data at each meeting. I'm calling it data bites. So last year we worked on several aspects of literacy. We worked on writing instruction, being really explicit, starting with a sentence and working your way up to things that are more sophisticated. Then we also, right now, we're working on knowledge building in our curriculum so that all students are studying the same thing at the same age, at the same time. So frogs might be a topic everybody's reading about, or states, so that we build knowledge and that affects reading comprehension. We're improving our multi-tiered system of support. That's how we measure what students are learning and what we do if they need help. And then we've been improving student feedback at the secondary level. So I decided to look at the data that matches those things. This is how students are doing reading informational text. So text that would relate to science or social studies and things like that. We are looking for even further improvement in this area. Our literacy scores in general are a little bit better this year, but we're looking for even more growth as we go on. And this is our writing right now in this area by grade level. These are percent of students on the VT cap that were, and it breaks it down this way when you get the specific sub areas, at, near, at, or above. And I added near at is one category and above is another. So I put those groups together to look at this. And as you can see, reading informational text is a little bit above writing, and we're going to continue to really work on this writing. Yes.
Is there a reason why there's such a drop in ninth grade for the reading? If you know historically if that's a trend or if that's
historically, that is a trend, and I'd have to look up, I believe it is a trend across the state, and that things get more sophisticated, but I can get back to you exactly how much. Any other questions?
So you're including near, at, and above. What lies outside of that? Just below.
Below. Mhm.
So
Near
you're
at,
taking 3/4 of the board.
near at is when you break it down by the subcategories, near and at is one group. So I can't separate near and at. They give it to me as a lump.
So there's 3.
There's 3 in this. There's 3 in this. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Near is really quite close in that. And then they put that in with at.
It's weird language, but
It is weird.
thank you.
Any other questions? Oh. We've also been working on AI. We had a great discussion in our curriculum committee, and we have formed an AI advisory committee, including 2 teachers, 2 students, myself, our director of communications, and our director of technology. We have surveyed our 7 through 12 teachers, both on their how comfortable they are with it themselves, and what they think we should do with students. We are very much in an information gathering stage, looking at what is going on in the state and what best practices are, and learning more about what we will do to guide our students through this new situation.
7 through 12 eventually.
7 through 12 eventually. Although K through 6, we want them to learn that AI exists and what the follies of that are. We want them to learn about it, but not with it. Thank you.
Yeah, but I told you next.
Oh, to appoint authorized representative. I think actually, I don't have the papers in front of me.
Oh,
sorry.
here you go, Jeff.
I thought you were gonna do it, sorry.
Oh, gosh.
I thought you had taken over. My luck. So we have our insurance through VEHI, Vermont Educational Health Initiative, and VSBIT, Vermont School Board's Insurance Trust. This is our unemployment insurance, health insurance, and all our general liability, property, automotive. And each year they have an annual meeting. And this year the annual meeting is on October 25th. We weren't able to identify where it is. In the cover letter, Michelle, does it say where the annual meeting will be?
Didn't bring the cover letter.
Oh, sorry. And the question is, if we are going to have a representative to go, it's a weekday during the middle of the day. We can give the authority to vote to that representative, and they take the proxy with them. If we don't have a board member who's interested in attending this meeting, we can give the proxy to the VEHI board to be the representative. So the first question is there anyone, any board members that are interested in attending the VEHI VSBIT annual meeting?
Did you just say it was on the
30th. Oh, October 30th of October 2025. Sorry.
I believe that's
It is.
usually at the
Sometimes it's a
annual
late.
meeting
Yeah.
of the VSA, VSBA,
And Bart's going.
and I'm going. You know, I think Kyla, are you going as well? Or maybe entertainment.
It's entertaining. I haven't
Okay.
decided, so maybe we should say
Okay,
you for sure.
I'm happy to do that because I will be there.
To sit in and be the representative?
Yes.
Okay. So the motion then would be to grant Bart proxy for our membership with VEHI and VSBIT at their annual meeting, voting proxy.
So moved.
Questions? Hearing and seeing none? All in favor of having Bart be our representative, say aye.
Aye.
Those abstaining?
The next one is fairly easy because our VSBA rep is Bart Bezio. So we're looking for a motion to appoint Bart as the voting delegate for the October 23rd, 2025 VSBA business meeting. And at that meeting will be a vote on the resolutions. VSBA resolutions. So looking for a motion. Thank you, Jeff. Seconded.
Any questions?
Denise.
Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of Bart being our voting delegate, the SBA meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Those abstaining?
Okay. So next item is VSBA resolutions. So just, I know these were included in the email that Michelle sent out. There are 11 resolutions that were submitted to the VSBA. Actually, the resolution committee itself came up with one of those resolutions. I actually sat on the resolution committee of the VSBA. So the process was basically were submitted by member districts. The resolution committee took a look at the resolutions. They took a position themselves as whether to pass the resolution at the annual meeting, or take no position, or essentially reject it. And so there are a number that we are, both the resolution committee of the VSBA and the VSBA board recommends that we pass as a continuing resolution. In essence of time, I'm hoping many of you got a chance to look at that. I'm happy to entertain questions or to go through more thorough, but it seems like could take quite a bit of time to go through all 11 resolutions.
Are you comfortable with just voting to adopt them?
Yeah, I guess one approach would be to basically accept the VSBA recommendation of the resolution, and that would inform me how to vote at the annual meeting. Just a quick note, like the resolutions are important because the VSBA uses those to inform how they should perform their testimony, what they should be advocating for. So it's a very important tool that the VSBA uses to advocate on behalf of all of its members. It takes 60% of members during the annual meeting to actually approve resolutions. So it's not a simple majority. So usually there's a decent amount of support for these if they should pass. I know some of these are pretty important because they really reinforce the support that we would. Sorry, let me rephrase that. They signify the importance of rural schools for our communities, and really help to influence VSBA and its support of rural schools, as being very important to the democratic process and being very key centers of the community. So I know that some of those are covered in the resolutions.
Can I just ask a process question? So each board decides if we as a board support these resolutions. I guess I'm wondering what they have to do with us, like what's the connection there? Like what, because we're part of.
So we are a member, we pay dues to VSBA.
Right.
Each member board has a voting delegate, so you just approve me to basically vote on your behalf.
Right.
So I guess if you vehemently opposed one of these resolutions, like that would be, like, we'd want to vote against these. But I mean, I do feel like I sat on the resolutions committee. I feel like they're very thoughtful. I know some of the resolutions were very similar to what we thought before. Those we actually voted to take no position on. However, the resolution committee came up with a resolution to basically cover a lot of those aspects that were addressed, but also took into consideration the fact that we've actually passed legislation that imposes minimum class standards. So it's kind of hard. Like VSBA has already advocated against Act 73, but now that's in place. So really it's more resolutions around like forward-looking, what does the VSBA support? How does it support its rural schools and communities? Did that help to answer your
I
question?
just haven't been through this before, so I was just, thank you.
And one thing to note that Bart really hasn't given himself credit for, the VSBA sits at the table making these decisions. Out of all the other organizations floating around the state, VSBA is recognized both in legislative writing and the committees. When I've gone to meetings, they recognize the VSBA and their input. So it's kind of a big deal.
So I guess with that, I would, somebody willing, barring further questions or discussion, to entertain a motion to accept the VSBA's position on the resolutions that were in your packet.
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of adopting the VSBA resolution, say aye.
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 Those who abstain? Okay. Belvidere Central School Conveyance.
So, this board authorized or approved that we would transfer Belvidere School Building back to the town of Belvidere should they wish. They basically said, tell us by September. We basically said, tell us by September. They did. September 3rd, they sent a letter. I didn't receive it till after the September 8th meeting. But they have decided they would like to take over ownership of the building. So the next step is I will contact our lawyer and the town clerk and get their lawyers and our lawyers to do the lawyerly thing and work on the deed transferring ownership. And then we'll work with the town on the final schedule of cleaning out everything that the school district will be keeping, cleaning out anything the town doesn't wish to keep, and turning over keys. Pretty much where we're at. I don't think there's any action that needs to be taken. The action was taken last year. So our student, what am I trying to say? Student services specific transportation needs continue to grow. We have another driver available. We need a van. We went out to bid. We sent out 5 requests for bid. 3 organizations bid, 802 Cars or 802 Toyota at $43,498. Lamoille Valley Ford, they bid a Ford Transit 350 for $62,840. And Handy Toyota or Handy Cars, Sienna for $43,685. Handy Toyota is the dealer we've been working with most with the vans we already have. For continuity of services with our our coordinator of the van transportation, for the additional $875, we are recommending that the board move to accept the bid of $43,685 from Handy Cars, Handy Toyota for the 2025 Sienna LE. That van is also available right now. You don't need to wait for the show. So I'm asking for a motion to accept the bid.
Motion accept.
Second.
Further discussion?
Is this transporting specifically?
Students with special considerations and special needs and
Some students who currently don't have stable housing.
It would be a wheelchair accessible then?
we
Right.
have the ability to do that right now. I think we have one, or we're not in need of one.
Okay.
We have one student, yeah, we have a wheelchair assessment. We just have more demand than we have available. hands for. Jackie's identified a potential driver, now we need to give that driver something to try.
Okay, all those in favor of approving on Dan, say aye.
Aye.
Those who abstain? Okay. Heating fuel bids.
It should be pretty quick. We have a single bidder, which seems to be the MO lately. We typically advertise locally in the paper, put it online, and then I actually send all the local vendors the request for proposals directly. Fred's is the only one who submitted a bid at all. We tried to do a 3-year bid for both fuels this year. They maintained the bid for year 1 and number 2 fuel oil, did do 3 years bid on propane. So it's time we're requesting the board move forward for 2026 through 2028 propane contract with Fred's Energy and a single year for Fred with Fred's Energy for number 2 fuel oil.
So moved.
Prices have all gone down too, so these are all less than last year.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the threats? Aye.
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 Those who abstain? Okay. Stormwater 3-acre permit.
So this is, new board members probably don't remember this, but I came to you guys in 2024 with a request of funds from the capital reserve for a 10% match on basically our stormwater permit that was pulled. We had to redo our stormwater system. We got a grant to do that. The work was around $250,000. I don't know if you guys noticed the new stormwater ponds down front. There's actually a huge underground system out back that we did this summer. Last Tuesday, we just closed the project out. There was one change order that I'm waiting. I haven't seen yet. So I'm asking, well, you've already approved us using the capital reserve funds. I'm just reminding you that those funds are going to be coming out soon. So if somebody sees those expenditures, I do believe it was April 2024. We asked you folks to do it, and I did it as a not to exceed of 30,000. Should be around 26,000 is what I think the total expenditure will be. This is kind of an FYI reminder. And that work is complete 3 years later.
Administrator.
Okay, so I think that going forward, we're going to have one other standing item, and that's going to be board education / training. I know that there are requirements for board training, and because of your schedules, it's very hard for you to go to physically get the training and to have it virtually. So we're going to take pieces of that at every meeting starting right now. So there's something that the VSBA and VSA put out called Board Superintendent Roles Activity. We are not going through all of it. We're going to take snippets of it. If you think it's a board responsibility, say that, and anybody can answer. If you think it's a superintendent responsibility, please say that. If you think it's both, please say that. If you think it's other, please say that. Adopt a budget for approval by the electorate.
Board.
Starting off really well. This is good. Map out bus routes. It's not, it's our contracted bus services. So in this case, it would be Lamoille Valley Transportation. We would never tell them to drive down a road or around a road that they have told us driving is unsafe. So they do that. Determine specific levels of expenditures within the budget. Within the budget. Board of Business Manager.
I feel like we need blindfold.
Yeah, no, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it's important that we know this. Determine grade configurations for a school, not class size minimums, grade configurations. Because we know that the board has a policy on class size. But what about grade configurations? Waterville's a great example. They made all of their classrooms multi-age, multi-grade. We're just gonna do one more. Fire a principal. So in the same way that I make recommendations to hire, recommendations to fire. So it starts here and the board accepts the recommendation. There has never been disagreement around that in 10 years, which is great. We're gonna do more at the next meeting. Essentially, the board is the what and the why. We are, the rest of the admin are the how. So your goals are oversight on budget development. How does that happen? Well, Deb meets with all the administrators. They develop a budget based on values. Budgets are values. Budgets are what we want for our students. And then it comes to the board level after community input, which gets me to something that's very exciting. We have a board meeting in November, second Monday in November. We would also like to do, and Rainey and I are putting this together. It's probably mostly you, but Rainey and I are putting together a budget development collaboration with the community and a presentation on Act 73. Because we are not going to have public comment or public outreach by the task force, as was originally alleged, we are doing it. We did not want to do this too soon because there's nothing that I think would incite somebody more when they want answers to just hear, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. So we hope that we will continue to gather information, and that will be the second part of the evening. So we'd like it to be that evening, board meeting evening. We'll keep the board meeting reasonably short and have an hour and a half dinner, roundtables, conversation. And we are framing this meeting based on results that we are seeing and that are still coming in. We have about 200 right now. Community input. Interestingly, for the first time ever, we have most respondents from Cambridge. And then followed by Hyde Park and Johnson. 3 of the highest priorities to date are instruction and classroom supports, followed by student supports, followed by extracurriculars, followed by safety. Safety was number 1 the last time we did this. It's number 4 here, but when we take the anecdotal sort of open question, number 1 was school safety. Some sort of comments. School safety is most important. Safety, kids' mental health, keep student safety number 1 priority. Security for schools, child safety, support and belonging, student and staff safety. The other 3 areas were transportation. That came out strongly. After school and summer programs, we have a lot of families who need help, they're working families. And then education standards. So we will continue to have these, to receive these, keep messaging it out, and that this will be the springboard for conversation. There's that. Now, remember the district quality standards that are in effect right now? Well, the administrative team had sort of a book study on the education quality standards that we went through over the summer to prepare for the July 1 date. This year is a pilot for districts, and each meeting, we're going to take one little section of it. This is short, I promise. I see people swooning. So the first has to do with budgeting and accounting, and you are rated as beginning, approaching, proficient, or advanced. We are very happy to say, and this will not be the true for all of it. For the budget part it is, but for some of the others, we have some work to do. This has been recorded as advanced. Advanced means the SU meets proficiency requirements and uses automated and comprehensive accounting systems which allow for integration between multiple systems and provide accurate real-time financial reporting and analysis. So we have a business manager, a finance coordinator. They participate in VSBA. Guidance is ongoing. We employ highly skilled and trained accounting and HR professionals. We have board clerks, treasurers, accounting dates, and policies that hold the board accountable to ethical systems. So that is the first one. This is a pilot, but I'm turning in all of our advanced scores because I think that they'll be appreciated by the state. They did actually a nice job sort of sifting through this. Employing grants management practices that enable the SU to effectively and efficiently spend federal grant funds and prevent reversion of funds. Also advanced, the finance coordinator is the designated grants management person. Independent of grant-funded project operations, all funding requests are overseen by the grants manager. Again, this is about checks and balances. Advanced, according to the rubric, says that the SU meets proficiency and uses internal controls that align with guidance for standards. That's an easy one. There are two more financial controls, all advanced. One is completing required audits. You know how Deb will come to you once a year and say, here's the audit, it's clean. This is the one that this district is most proud of. Thank you, Deb. And before Deb, Marilyn. There has not been one finding for decades. And we understand that that is not always the case, not generally the case in many. And advanced says that the annual financial statements will include no findings. That's advanced, so there we are. And again, implementing and maintaining effective procurement and contract administration processes. We adhere to competitive bid requirements. Again, you would think that that is just normal practice. It is for this district, and that is advanced. We move on to personnel management, and I would say here we have mostly proficient scores, but some advanced scores. What we don't do is tie our hiring to student outcomes. That is what they're considering advanced. That's also a slippery slope. So we use data-formed personnel management processes to deploy staff where needed. For example, we meet regularly with school teams. What are the student needs? What is the caseload? What do you need as your resources? When principals are developing their budgets this year, the first question that we're asking for the first time, even though it should be obvious, is what do your students need? First question. That guides everything else. We do evaluate new hires. We have a comprehensive system for that. We are solid on background checks. The master agreement talks about how we post positions. We adhere to that. Licensing checks, that is ongoing. That is a living document. What we don't have that would move us from proficient to advanced is what I suggested, and that is we don't tie it to student outcomes. So we're trying to sort of figure out how we move to that next level. Then facilities, management, and seats. So I'll just recap this because this is a typical Dylan conversation. We're going over this today and he's like, I don't sign off on that. I don't sign off on that. Oh, this is terrible. So I said, well, who does sign off on it? Well, the people we contract with, Control Tech Inc. And I said, so they do that annually? Yes. Do they do it every 3 months if there's a 3-month measure? Yes. So we are between the proficient and advanced. I'll tell you what we have. We have photographs, sketches, visual representations. We have blueprints of every building, everyone. That piece alone gets us to the advanced. The rest is really that Control Tech comes in and we have a 3-year contract. They maintain a comprehensive, call it an operations and maintenance manual for each school building. So we have it digitally and we have it hard copies on all sites except for Waterville and Eden. So that is something that will move us into the advanced recommendation. So this is pretty good. We aren't in the beginning stages of anything yet. I haven't seen it and I've gone through the whole thing, but we're going to take the next section next time. Are there questions about this? This is a pilot year, but we will be evaluated on this beginning next year.
So I want to highlight that this is not, it's not fun, but it's a self-assessment, but the rubric has been put out by the Agency of Education, and the Agency of Education worked very closely with VSBA to develop that rubric. So it was actually wrapped up in one of our annual retreats a couple summers ago. So a lot of thought and effort has gone into rubrics, and it's not, Kat deciding what gets us from proficient to advanced. There's a pretty well thought out score.
And it's objective. I mean, we have to have the documentation, and we do. So this is good news. Looking ahead, it won't be all good news, but we have work to do, and it's good that we have work to do. The next thing, the board adopted 3-year goals. I have 3-year goals that are directly aligned to the priorities of the board. There is a marriage between the board and the superintendent that is generally high functioning. At least it is in this district. But to keep it high functioning, there needs to be mutual accountability. So if the board says, Kat, I want you to do X, Y, or Z, the board is also saying, I will make sure you have the resources to be able to do that. And when I say, I recommend that we look at this as a board, I say that because it's always in the best interests of our students, and that is always my driving agenda, always. So whereas the board's first board's first goal is, ensuring high levels of rigor and achievement. Mine is advancing rigor and achievement. So the evidence and the data points, and they're put out in 3 years, the evidence and data points are state and local assessment results, course enrollment reports, dual enrollment, advanced courses, other courses, intervention participation data, and student and family perception surveys. So we send out surveys every year. Second one has to do with safe and healthy schools. Mine is building and sustaining positive school climates. So what are we going to do? We're going to have an annual climate survey data. And we're having it now for the first time throughout the elementary schools. So our P2, C2 groups are going to help us craft those. And Equity by Design, Equity Design Team it's a student-driven survey that they do 7 through 12. So we will have pre and post information. For the safety and wellness group, that is something that you should want to see and ask to see. And perhaps there's a board report from the subgroup and me twice a year. Practicing responsible stewardship of resources. This is about the budget. How are we? You're smiling, Jeff.
We were discussing that just in our meeting.
Oh, good. And that's really being transparent with the community, asking for their input. We are already positioning ourselves to do that. Deepening community engagement and partnerships. We have so many partnerships. It's the Recovery Center, the Restorative Center, it's Healthy Lamoille Valley. It is the, I like to think Tamarack is one of our partners. Moyle County Sheriff's Departments, huge partners for us. They always give us a heads up, which is something that I don't think anyone else can say. One of the things that safety is looking at, what happened? Move our arms or something. So one of the things we might want to look at is the community and family engagement results. And there are percentages in here. Percentages are funny because I don't like to put people and success in terms of percentages, but it works in some cases. So they are 3-year goals that get more and more rigorous. I'm going to copy these for all of you, and Michelle, can we send them to the board tomorrow? I want you to take a look at them and you will see that they are completely aligned with board goals. So we are doing this together. Your success is our success. Our success is our success. So I'm feeling very good about that. What else? Can't think of anything. Safety. I already mentioned that was the #1 goal with the families or interest of families, the other call. Oh, sure.
So to give you a little history on this, I got shot down on this a couple of years ago. One of my conversations with Deb and Kat was during the budget process. We were getting ready for the budget cycle and there wasn't a lot of money around, and last year it would never happen anyways. I had brought up, because of all the school shootings and all the rest of that going around, we might want to consider hiring someone to coordinate, and that be their job, if you will, to coordinate with state and local, make sure our school is safe. At that time, because of budget constraints, we decided that Dylan could have a bigger part. As Cole came around, and with Rennie and like that, it has come back to where we're at now, where Dylan's being overloaded with a lot of the safety and other items. So it was brought up that I might suggest that this board consider hiring a safety and busing coordinator that would oversee and be able to delegate out, take some of Dylan's work that he's being overworked on, some pieces that Cole is working with, hire somebody on to coordinate. Deb kind of does the busing off to the peripheral, but a contractor decides where the bus stops go. And I know personally I've been called by several folks within our community about getting bus stops moved in Johnson, one up here in Johnson Hyde Park. And I'm sure there's others that I haven't heard about. But I would like to recommend that we take a look at a position that would oversee a lot of that and pull some work away from Dylan so he can focus on his facilities. Cole can do his work in the data processing, which is getting, trust me, it's getting bigger. So I don't know what anybody's thoughts are on that. It appears we're in a position where budget-wise, we're in a better spot for that than before when I brought it up. And it was like a barrel going over Niagara Falls. Said no. And our public said no as they downed our budget a couple of years ago. So I think we might have some room where we can bring a person on, or at least take a look and see who might be available out there.
Well, I think we have some community members coming to this because they encouraged us to have a budget development meeting again. And that came out loud and clear. And when we say safety, this is not just physical safety. This is safety in all of its contexts. And that is how it was rolled out before. Actually, the safety committee at the time had a say in that as well. But then I don't remember what happened with it. So anyway, so you just are in sort of letting the board know what is sort of percolating. Yeah.
Would this be a full-time position, Mark? Is that what you're-
This is something that would be fleshed out, details would be fleshed out over the course of a period of time and then proposed to the board for the approval of the position. Is that how that would work?
Yeah, no. I mean.
Yeah, I think so.
It doesn't have.
As far as funding, there's expected savings in school nutrition. Kelly's done a lot of work on finding ways to save in school nutrition program. We also, when we're talking about transportation, about 1% of my job is to support transportation. And frankly, our coordinators and our contractors need more robust support. We could do a monthly newsletter and let families know. The one time we did a newsletter was actually responsive to families really pushing on something, and we tried to explain it to them, and somehow the newsletter helped. But really nobody, our coordinators are only part-time coordinators, right? I'm 1%. I contract with LVT. When it really gets to my level, I drive a route, but I'm not a driver. I've never driven a 70-foot bus. So I'm like, yeah, I take the driver's word on it that this is not safe. I'm having a hard time turning my car around. It's probably not good for a bus. You know, that could just be so much more robust and vital. I know, you know, I've watched Dylan, Cole, and Rainey in particular with their safety stuff. When they're doing a phenomenal job on safety, and they have, that's why we improved on it. They're kind of the other work that's their primary is lag. And we do see that too. It's very difficult. I think as an organization, we've just matured to the place where we need a point person to do these things. The community relationships, the community partners. School, you know, who's gonna walk through each school every month? Who's gonna do school assessments from the safety point of view? Our principals are being principals. Our facilities are being facilities. They're going through that lens and not necessarily through the safety lens. Coordinating the meetings, there's a ton of meetings to coordinate because there's different safety teams to pull together. We've just matured to the place where this position really would benefit the organization as a whole and streamline our safety and wellness
So it sounds,
resources and plans.
sounds like
But we
it's-
thought about it, yeah.
it's, you've talked about it in process and supported.
So with Act 29, which is the most recent safety act that passed, there's a lot more state reportings required too. So like, again, it started out 4 years ago when Kat asked if I would take this on. It was, we would do emergency operations plans and things like that. And it was, you know, we have that done, but now there is a ton of work. I mean, there's a ton of classroom outreach we can do. We just don't have the manpower to do it and put it together. You know, I started, it was maybe 10% of my job when you asked me 4 years ago. It's 40 to 50% of my job now, and it's 20% of your job, and it's 20% of your job. And I think we're doing a great job. I think we're one of the best
It's
in the
just
state.
fragmented.
But it is a lot. And again, it's when you sit down and ask me facility questions, I'm like, oh yeah, there's certain things that I should probably update this and do, you know. So I think there is a need, and I think it's not gonna ever get less. It's the state is gonna constantly mandate, you know, behavioral threat assessment. That reporting that's gonna need to be done this coming spring is probably gonna be a solid week's worth of work or something, 40 hours straight up. That's one teeny part of it over the entire course of the year. And again, I think we've made a ton of progress, and we see even more progress to be made, but I think it needs to be somebody that is their sole focus for the most part.
And really, I don't anticipate, I can't speak for anyone else. I don't anticipate any one person can come in and just take it over. It's still gonna need tutoring from those who have pulled it together and created it.
And we'll always be on those safety committees because we still have like.
It's time, it's gonna be
physical
time
security
before this
still in my wheelhouse,
position.
so it's gonna be the other things.
I'm assuming this will also cover fire drills,
Everything.
drills, all of that.
Bus safety drills,
HHP, bullying, harassment, and hazing.
all of that. The Strategics program,
The community surveys we're doing is saying safety is a priority. I think we'll get a lot of pushback.
I don't think there's gonna be any. over
the
that.
Strategics program.
It's so
the
funny, we
surveillance
had so
program.
much pushback 10 years ago. Zero. Zero.
Seems to me that if we're serious about this being a board and superintendent goal, and going back to Kat's previous comments around, needing the resources to support those goals, sounds like it's something we ought to probably consider.
I'd love to place an ad tomorrow,
Yes,
because it's not a quick process.
it sounds like you've got a job description ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, the job description.
Well, we had one sort of fleshed out before.
So do we need a motion to approve the position or?
Do we need a
I
motion?
don't know that the board.
I don't know
will
that
know.
yeah.
It wasn't agenda.
And I just wanted to say some really nice things about some people. We have a number of people who are not here tonight, but I wanted to just say something nice about Chris Dodge. He was invited to be a panelist on PBIS in schools because he is so adept at what that means and in positive behaviors. And he's really coming in and doing some great things. And he was invited to this, and he was very humble when he mentioned that he wouldn't be here because of that, and would we understand? And I mean, he's being honored, so I'm very, very appreciative of his work. A lot of people are doing some really good things and who are sort of bettering their practice and taking advantage of professional development, which is key to retaining teachers and in helping them with their craft. So I just wanted to say that special thing. Does anybody else have anything they want to share?
I want to say I went to the open house a few weeks ago and it was great.
Yeah.
Really fun. I went to the high school because I have a ninth grader and there was music and popcorn and it was very celebratory and a really great vibe, and it was so nice to go into the classrooms and the staff. My only regret is that we spent so much time there that I didn't get over here. And I really wanted to visit this building, these teachers, because these are the folks that I feel like I know the least. But I think, thank you to all the folks that put that together. It was great.
It was a great evening. It was kind of like speed dating though.
Yes, it was.
Get everywhere quickly. Yeah, schools are doing some wonderful things. And so it's a tough time to be a student. It's a tough time to be a person right now. And people are doing all they can on the educator front. So, anybody else?
I think it's important. I'd like to share that Kat has been selected as, she didn't know that I was going to say anything, and I'm not going to get into all the details. I'll let her share the details, but she's been selected as one of 10 individuals to participate in the leadership program through Harvard University. And I will let you speak to the details. It's normal on a leader.
Must be pretty
Thank
good.
you.
You're uncomfortable.
I'm comfortable all the time.
It's extremely,
So we're doing great work here and we get to celebrate it. So that's great. Thank you.
Let's give her a hand. Is there any other business? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
So.
Other than that,